Hey friends, so today we are going to be looking at the new iPad 6, and actually this is the first generation iPad mini. I know this isn't much of a comparison, but I just like to show you guys how far the two devices has gone. So the iPad mini 1, the first generation of the iPad mini, this actually came out in 2012, while this is a new generation iPad mini. So this came out in 2021. So there is a long distance between the time that the both of them came out. So obviously lots of innovation has been done by Apple. So the two devices are completely different. When you look at both of them in size, you can see that there is a difference between the both of them. The first generation iPad mini is actually longer than the new generation iPad mini, but the thing here is the new generation iPad mini actually has a larger screen at 8.3 and this comes in at 7.9. So the iPad mini has always had exactly the same screen size for a very long time, and this here was just the first time that a new refresh was done. So the new generation iPad mini comes with a Touch ID. The previous generation iPad minis did come with a Touch ID, but they came in with a button in the middle of the device, while this comes in a button at the top of the device. So the fingerprint scanner is pretty easy. What you just do is you just touch it and it definitely just opens up. So it is extremely fast. We also have the volume rockers at the top compared to the previous generation iPad minis, which add them at the side. The reason is because it needed to have a space to contain the new iPad Pencil, and the new iPad Pencil takes up majority of the space on that side, so the volume rockers had to be moved to the top. On the other side, we have just a blank space. Actually, I do feel myself personally that the volume rockers could have been moved over to this side, but we don't know what the ideology behind this was. So this just have the speakers at the top and at the bottom as well. So with the speakers at the top and at the bottom, you do get an amazing surround sound feeling, although the sound is not as loud as the other iPads, which is expected because this is an iPad mini, so it's definitely a smaller device compared to the other two. Now, the older generation iPad mini does have just the speakers at the bottom, but no speakers at the top. You just have the controller at the top as well as the headphone jacks. Like I said, you have the volume rockers at the side as well. In terms of screen quality of these two devices, definitely Apple has gone really far with their devices, and you can definitely tell that the iPad mini 6 is definitely way better than the first generation iPad mini in terms of so many things. In terms of the screen brightness, which the new iPad mini gets to about 500 nits in peak brightness, it also has True Tone and P3 color gamut. So this is definitely something that is an advantage, especially when you look at the price differences between the both of them. The iPad mini 6, the new generation iPad mini, definitely got a big boost in performance and a big boost in this look, but definitely got a big boost in the price as well when comparing the both of them. Actually, my first generation iPad mini still runs perfectly well, just that it doesn't support any of the latest updates, and that's understandable because I am pretty sure that the processor in here will not be able to handle the new update that came in with the iPad OS 15. So that is something that is quite understandable. In terms of gaming, the iPad mini 6 definitely goes way beyond because it has the new A15 processor, and the new A15 processor is the one also in the new iPhone 13s that out, so it's definitely something that is good. Also, in terms of processing things like pictures and things like movie editing, the iPad mini 6 actually does pretty well. It handles them absolutely wonderfully. But the iPad mini does have the jelly scrolling when it comes to reading text messages, but to the naked eye you will not exactly notice this except you slow down the video completely, which a lot of people are not going to be looking in that way. So I don't think, for me, it is not a deal breaker. For a lot of people it is a deal breaker, but for me it is not specifically a deal breaker. Also, the cameras at the front and at the back of the devices have gotten a really huge update in the iPad mini 6. So the iPad mini 6 sports a better camera than the iPad mini first generation and even the iPad mini fifth generation. So in this case, we're just going to look at this as the iPad mini fifth generation. If we're looking at this in terms of screen size, obviously, like I said, the iPad mini 6 comes in at 8.3 inches, while this comes in at 7.9 inches. So the iPad mini 6 is definitely bigger in terms of screen size, but in terms of dimension, the iPad mini first generation to the fifth generation are bigger than the iPad mini 6. So that's something that you guys should consider. But if we're looking at in terms of usability, I still think the iPad mini 5.4 will still be highly usable compared to, let's say, the older generations of the iPad minis. I think if you have an iPad mini 5 or 6, if you're not really into the looks and into the new design, especially if you're not into the cameras as well, maybe you're just using it for reading and other things, then definitely you should probably stick with your iPad. But if you're someone who is trying to get into the Apple ecosystem and you're trying to get something new, a new device, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, the first recommendation I would give to you is to get the new iPad, just the base model iPad, because that one is cheaper and does have incredibly useful features. But if you're in for the new design, you don't have a lot of money, then the iPad mini 6 is definitely a very good recommendation. For me, it has been incredibly stable in terms of gaming and so many other features. It has absolutely been wonderful in terms of video editing, in terms of reading books, in terms of just easy searching, and in terms of mobility, which is very important to a lot of people. Mobility is something that a lot of people think is very important. You can just carry this about. If you're looking for a perfect combination, then I would definitely just ask you to get the iPad mini 6 and the iPhone 13 mini. Those two are two perfect combination of two devices that are absolutely wonderful. So they are things that you can use for a very long time. Picking up the new iPad mini 6 is definitely something that will future-proof you, because you will be able to use the new iPad mini for a very long time compared to, let's say, the 5th generation or the 4th generation, because the iPad mini now sports the new USB Type-C. Actually not new, but in terms of Apple devices, you can say it's relatively new. A lot of the Apple devices still support the Lightning connector, like the base model iPad, and as well as the previous generations of the iPad mini, as well as the iPhones, they still possess the Lightning connector. But this switching to USB Type-C, I think for me, is one of the best upgrades that the iPad mini has gotten, and is something that will continue to push the iPad mini forward. Hopefully, there will be lots of updates to the iPad OS, which will help the iPad mini become more of a usable device and more of an amazing device. I'm going to compare this device to the iPad Air in case people are thinking between the two, because the iPad Air also is a device that is just $100 more than the iPad mini. So it might be something that people might be considering, either getting the iPad mini or getting the iPad Air. So you guys should stick around for that video, and thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next one.